Put them on the altar.
Max, do you have a pen? I put it on the audio card.
So here, Adam, FaceTime me real quick. Check, 1, 2, check. Is that pretty good? Check, 1, 2, check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. I can make this one louder. I think I might need to.
Bill, let me do the check. You do the sound. Check 1, check 1, check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, check 1. Check 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's sound coming out now. The Shanahans are here. Shanahans have arrived.
Okay, Tim, do the wireless one.
Test 1, test 1. That's really good sound there.
Is that all right?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Craig Rogers, can you hear this okay?
Alright, so those are good.
Jim, does that sound good?
Alright, we're gonna try the guitar and the mic. Or the guitar mic. So
Hi, everybody.
Do you need a pep talk or are you ready to go? I'm ready. Just my cousin's over there. They all got well, yeah,
Hi. Come on in. Good to see you. Hi, Kirsten. How we doing? Hello. Jump in anywhere. There's plenty. And you feel free to bunch up in your seats. How we doing?
They're going to be sitting. You have the walking around. All right, buddy. You're going to do great.
hey Max.
Yeah, there's masks and books and stuff at the tables. And candy. Okay. Oh, okay. We're kind of waiting for people just to get here and show up.
So Max, for the yard pass, Max? Max for the yard pass?
I sit in the box.
Just on the top.
Are they?
Yeah, they're here. Sound people say we are ready and live.
Join us on stream. It's great to have you. We're running a few minutes behind here, but we'll be getting going soon.
Max's bar mitzvah.
Did you ever think you'd get masks for his bar mitzvah?
Yeah, they're over on the
I
table.
know. Did you ever think you would have to do
Was that in the planning?
That was not in the planning.
They did their hair.
They look great. It's hard to recognize who people are. Are you nervous? Actually, part of it is sewed into the coat, but you're supposed to pass it out so that it sets on it. It looks like it's just I know. Papa help. That thing in his pocket.
So this mic is not when we're broadcasting.
Oh, great.
There's a 4-minute delay.
Oh.
So everything that's happening is going to be 4 minutes from now. So say hi, and they're going to hear you 4 minutes from now.
Well, okay. Oh my God, that. You should just get naked.
Mask is on.
No? Yeah, we will. And I think we'll be good. Oh, they're great.
Okay, so it's 9:05. Sound and stream.
But we had probably had 10 cans of this one. Yeah, they can see. Hi.
Alright, so I'm going to get myself ready and then.
Thanks. Great. Or sit over to the side and bring those closer. Where do you want?
And I'm still like
I'm going to go to the podium. Yes, they're at the podium. You got it.
I do.
No.
You need it?
You may. They're all up there. You got it. Well, yeah, it was more the same one.
Good morning, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. So, hey, live streamers, we're going to settle ourselves here, then we'll get going, so just give us a moment. So everyone who's here at the lovely Regis Jesuit High School campus, we got lots of chairs spread out for distancing, but I invite you, since given who our crowd is now, to keep distance, but come closer so that we can make a smaller more intimate feel. So if you're way far out, this is the cool thing about distancing. If you don't like really being social, sitting next to people, you still don't have to. But you guys are all the way over there. Come a little closer, please. Stay in your pods, but just, and the people who they're arriving a little late, that's their loss. They can miss out on the good seats. So, yeah, and also I'd encourage you. You can make the chairs more in the round and facing this way. They don't need to be formally that way, and to the sides over there are good. And just pay attention to our distancing. So you guys, Silvermans, I mean you come closer, not go farther. I mean you come closer this way. I know. See, I know them, so I can embarrass them. So those of you who I don't know, I am still speaking to you, but I won't embarrass you, I promise. Great. So I would, let's get going now, shall we? I'm Rabbi Adam Morris, and on behalf of myself and Hal Aqua, who's over there off camera, for those of you streaming, but those of you can see with the guitar over there, we're our usual host for our Shabbat morning service. And we are so excited to welcome you who are here with us at Regis Jesuit, and those of you who are with us on the stream as we celebrate Shabbat this morning, and as Max Bauer becomes a bar mitzvah. Now, there are some particulars of what we do that I usually say, and some that are a little different. So let's get those out of the way first. So, we are so thankful and grateful to be here at Regis Jesuit High School, which is a pretty significant institution to the Bauer family. And in this strange and weird moment of COVID, offered us a wonderful solution to be together and distanced and to celebrate with them. So we're here on Regis in front of the Steel Center at the, what's the green called? McNicholas Green. And I got Regis behind me. Those of you who are streaming cannot see, but those who are here personally can. Now you may think, some of you, aren't the people at Temple Micah worried that there's this glorious statue with a big cross behind us? Is that a problem for us at Temple Micah? And the reality is no, because we share space with the church. Park Hill United Methodist Church are not just landlords, but our partners, and we live in a space like that. And it's when we see the cross in that space, or have had a prayer service in spaces where it's evident, it's not a reminder of what we're not. It's a reminder of what we are. Because we are a community that is inclusive and diverse and sees and understands why we as Jews have a very specific way that we tell our stories and name our values. They are the exact same values as so many other people. And we are eager and proud to partner with them to do that work and to make the world the way we want it. So it's quite comfortable for us to be here at Regis, to be with this symbolism, and to intermingle it with ours. And so I want to encourage you I want you to know that that's who we are. And so even though we've never had a bar mitzvah service as Regis, and the story I'm sticking to is I don't think this is probably the first bar mitzvah ever in the history of Regis. Yeah,
Yes.
I like that. I keep saying I'm telling that story until someone contradicts it. Even though that's all unprecedented, this is comfortable to us, and we're honored and thrilled to be here. Now, getting the special piece out of the way, what's not so special, I guess, maybe that's not the way to say it, but what we do is special but regular. Right now, we're about to begin a prayer service in which we're trying to create a prayerful space in the sense and the safety of community so that we can be reflective and contemplative. And that's what we do. And it doesn't matter if you're Jewish or not, if you're familiar with what we do, whether you're here in person or you're out there virtually, we're all part of the community. And the way that you are going to honor Max is not by sitting there being a spectator, but by being a participant and doing what we're here to do. Now, communally, that looks like, well, reading some of the English meditations when we do that, trying to sing along with the Hebrew. If your Hebrew is rusty, go ahead and make up the words or just hum along. As long as your intent is sincere, it's all good. But personally, around that space we're creating with those words and that music is to be prayerful yourselves. Take some time, take this precious gift of a break from the craziness of our world and just be quiet. Be reflective. Pay attention to your gifts and blessings and be grateful for them. Get some perspective on the things that challenge you out there. Whatever it may be, participate, be prayerful. That's how you're going to honor our bar mitzvah this morning. Without any further ado, let's get to it. Us rabbis like to talk about things a lot before we do it, so I'm going to stop talking. So let's pray, shall we? Let's be prayerful. We'll start with our prayers. We're on page 70 of our prayer book. We'll start with the ancient words from both our Jewish tradition and the tradition of the Jesuits from the Psalms. Hine ma tov. And we say and acknowledge that it's just good to be together, to be part of the community. Hine ma tov, page 70. שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד one love one heart let's get together and feel alright singing about the one love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the one, and we will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. How would it pleasant? You know that it would be for brothers and sisters to live in harmony. I say, how good and pleasant, you know that it would be for brothers and sisters to live in harmony. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. And we will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. And we will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Okay, so maybe there were some more contemporary words mixing with those ancient ones, but the spirit's all the same. So it's now my honor and privilege to invite our bar mitzvah to lead us in our prayers this morning. As he does, I'd like to invite his mom to, well, she's only representing Grandma Dee Dee Schwartz, who is presenting Max with his talit.
On behalf of Grandma Dee, dear Max, dear Max, I wish I could be there with you today to tell you in person how proud I am of you. You did not let a pandemic discourage you, but continue to demonstrate your dedication to a goal you set for yourself. I know that your grandfather, Donald, will be very proud as well. His faith was demonstrated in his belief that his children should have a Jewish education and be exposed to Jewish traditions. He is standing with you as you recite your Torah portion. He is literally part of your genetic makeup, and so you will always carry him with you. Your bar mitzvah not only honors him, but all of your ancestors, who displayed great courage in leaving their homeland to travel to a country where they could safely practice their religion. You stand here today and honor all those who came before you. Love, Grandma Dee Dee.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hata tev v'tzitzit.
Amen.
Please continue with me on page 77. Don't let me fall, as a stone falls upon the hard ground, and don't let my hands become dry, as the twigs of a tree, when the wind beats down the last leaves, and when the storm raises dust from the earth, with anger and howling. Don't let me fall. I have asked for so much, but as a blade of your grass in a distant wild field, let's drop a seed in the lap of the earth, and dies away. Sow me in your living breath, as you sow a seed in the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei Basar. Please continue with me on page 79. Matter is never destroyed, only transformed. So too can the soul evolve higher and higher, from instinct to inspiration, haughtiness to holiness, selfishness to service, from individualism to union, to join with the soul of souls, the Infinite One. As the soul is magnified and sanctified, so is the Infinite One exalted. Baruch atah Adonai, asher b'yado nefesh kol chai, ruach kol basar ish. Please continue with me on page 80. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan b'sefina, l'hapim b'yom v'layla. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Okeach Ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Matir Asurim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Zokev Kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Rokach haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamechim mitzadei gaber. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Malbish harumim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Anoten le'et koach. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Ma'avir she'ena me'enai, U'duma me'achapai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, She'asani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, She'asani ben chorim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, She'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Ozer Yisrael b'kuraha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Oter Yisrael b'tifaraha. Please continue with me on page 100. Alleluia, 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 Bekocho. Alleluia, alleluia, Ki abuso. Alleluia, 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 alleluia.
Hallelujah, Mitzvah Letrua. Kol Hanshamate Hallelujah, Kol Hanshamate Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Please continue with me on page 106.
Ikadash Shemei Rabbah, Madi Brachirute V'Amid Malchute, Chayechon Yomecho, Uchayedecho Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, Ubizman Karim, V'imaru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach, Me'olam Olam Me'omaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yipahar, V'yitroma, V'yinaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitalam, V'yitalam, Shemei Lekudesha Barichu, Ve'elah Min Kol Birchata, V'shirata, Tushbehata V'nechemata, Ta'amira Miyama, V'imaru, Amen.
Please turn to page 108 and rise for the Bauer Please continue on page 111. You are praised, who rolls out the rough, raw clay of the universe into delicate vessels of light, and from nothing at all. We could perceive in a world that has turned old, a shimmering new creation right before our eyes, made this moment just for us. How much of life reveals your presence? How much Torah unfolds from each new flower, from each new wave that brings the common sea. You are praised, who forms from the clay that cloaks our lives, the delicate vessels which contain our light. Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer Hamorot. Please continue on page 113. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and like-minded we saw, that inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us. As we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, your sign of life. Baruch atah Adonai, Habocher ba'amo Yisrael ba'ahava. 116 and be seated. Ve'afta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher hi mitzvah hayom al levabecha V'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'vlachtecha b'derech u'shoftecha u'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot bein einecha u'chavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'bisharecha leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem be'eretz Mitzrayim Liyot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Please turn to page 123. And what is my lifespan? I'm like a man gone out of Egypt. The Red Sea parts. I cross on dry land. Two walls of water, on my right and on my left. Pharaoh's army and his horsemen behind me. Before me the desert. Perhaps the promised land too. That is my lifespan. Please turn to page 124 and rise for tefillah.
126.
Elohei Avotenu V'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'gibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim,
וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסי אבות אמהות, ומביא גאולה לפני פניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה ה' Abraham, Bezrat Sarah. 128. Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atara Lehoshia, Mechaker Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Sahomech Nofim Berafech Oholim, Umatir Asurim, Umakayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Gevuro, Umito Melech, Melech Mimid, Umakayem, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Nemanat al Hachayot, Baruch atah Adonai, Bechayei HaKol. Page 130. Kadesh et Shemcha ba'olam, V'shem shemakdishim oto b'shem aron, Kakatum b'yad neviyecha, V'kazeh ve'al ve'alman, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzebaot, Eloh kol haaretz, Kivoto, Adirenu Adonai, Adonenu Ha'adir Shimcha b'chol haaretz, Baruch Kivod Adonai Adu Eloheinu, Inu Umalkeinu, V'rachamav le'nei kol chai, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Lo Adonai le'olam, Elohai Zion, Dor vador, Alleluia. Dor vador ani godlecha, ulenetzach nitzachim, shachanati, shacham Eloheinu, Inu yamush le'olam. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el Adonai.
Please turn to page 132 and be seated.
So
your own to page 143.
So Max has led us here. I'm going to take over now for a little bit. And as I do, this is the point in the Bauer Bat Mitzvah service that I like to set everybody straight. Exactly about, well, particularly about this bar mitzvah thing. What an adult, becoming an adult means. Because probably back in the day, when this ritual started, someone was around 13, all boys, forget about the girls, that person became an adult in that world and had all the appropriate privileges and responsibilities that adults have. And what I'd like to set people straight about is that just ain't so nowadays. I don't want any parents to go around thinking, okay, now Max is, gonna go get a job and get his own place, get married, and do those things that we associate. I see nodding heads, which is cool that you have confidence in him to go do that. I don't want any bar bat mitzvah to get any notions about they can go drive away from here to the local bar, take a drink, and I'd like for them to go vote in the election in November, but I can't change that either. So, but I think it's important to name what this ceremony means in the 21st century. It's very different. We still use that language, oh, you're adult now, and well, you're really not. But even though I like to set everybody straight, it is not my intention to actually take away from the meaning of the ritual. Actually, I want to make sure it does mean something. Because we still ask people like Max to do what he did for now longer than he intended, but for months and months, to prepare to do this, because we still think something really important and special and holy is happening. Because this process of becoming an adult, it's real, it's authentic, it's hard, it's exciting. And what we ask adults to do in our world is pretty important. What we in our tradition expect of ourselves as adults is significant. And so still to take the time, still to ask Max to do this, is really important. So we're saying to you, what we're saying to Max, to you, to his family, to his communities, that this process is sacred. So take the time and understand what it means, who you are, and what you're about, and not just in your own little corner, but how you interact with the world is of essence to us as individuals and, well, us as a world, and how we're going to make it the way we want it to be. That's just and compassionate and peaceful. And becoming a bar mitzvah right now makes that even more important and urgent and clear. And so even though I set everyone straight and said, no, Max is not an adult, it doesn't make this ritual any less important. It actually is more important. And so we're so excited to be here and celebrate with you, Max. Now, if there is a symbolic moment that the adulting happens or starts, we're about to have it. Because we're about to start the Torah service. And in the Torah service, Max is going to take our scroll and our stories, and not just the scroll itself, but what it represents, share what this week's story is, tell us what he sees in it, and become part of that story. Because for we Jews, our most powerful tool in figuring this adult stuff out are our stories. Every tradition has their sacred tools. That's ours. So when we give this to Max, literally hand it to him, that's the moment we'll recognize, okay, it's happening now. But before we get there, before we do it, it just feels right that it's not me who has the last word before he takes the scroll, but the people who started it all some 13 years ago, Mom and Dad. So Deb and Tim, would you join Max up here on the bima and share with him what you're thinking and what you're feeling on this very special moment.
All right. It's sunny out there.
Talk fast.
Yeah. Before we start, I just want to say a few things. Take 30 seconds to thank some people. First, Dave Card and Jimmy Trico, President and Principal of Regis Jesuit, who for so quickly saying yes to letting this happen here on campus. It means a whole lot to our family to be able to do this in person, even though doing it in front of the statue is a little weird. To the facilities crew of Regis, Ben, Mark, Dave, Eric, Tom, and the rest for setting up and being so attentive. To Alda Ben Toha and Will Cropper and Richard Merkling for taking care of our sound. And to Adam Dawkins, who's sitting in that room right back there, for doing the live stream. Hi, everybody. You are a generous and talented bunch, and you humble me with your spirit. And finally, to Temple Micah and to Hal, and especially to Rabbi Mo for everything. Deb and I were here on Thursday to walk through the rehearsal, and at one point Deb looked at me and said, I mean, saying yes to having a bar mitzvah at Regis Jesuit, who does that? Her version was a lot more laced with cuss words, but I won't repeat those here. Truly, thank you. You mean so much to us. Hi, Max. All right, let's get the dad joke out of the way just to break the tension. Why can't a nose be 12 inches long? Because then it would be a foot. I know. I was going to tell a joke about time travel, but you guys didn't like it. I know we've told you the story of the night you were born and how crazy it was, and I won't recount the whole story here, but it's a really good one. Ask me about it sometime. It involves an April blizzard and soup and salad and a fire station and an ambulance and a paramedic who we're pretty sure had never seen a baby before. That night, though, it should have been a warning that life with you was going to be anything but routine and average. Every parent is convinced that their kid is unique, but you truly are. You are absolutely one of a kind. How do I know? Well, look around real quick. A bar mitzvah at a Catholic high school, attended by friends and family from all religions and views and walks of life, here to celebrate you. I don't know many young men who could pull off such a thing. How do I know you're unique? Because every time I drop you off at aerial acrobatics, and every time I see you perform, I think, what a lucky dad I am. You make it look effortless and just a little bit dangerous, but graceful and beautiful too. And all in perfect timing to the Lion King soundtrack. And every time I see you on a stage, in a play or a musical, and you are transformed into something else entirely, and for a while you help me and the audience transport to another place and time, and we get to laugh and sing with you. But I also remember the time you were on stage in one of your first performances, and you were a munchkin in The Wizard of Oz, and every once in a while I would see you in the back or off to the side, helping the actors who were even younger than you find their marks and remember their lines. And I recall the time you were very little, maybe 3 or 4, and we were gathered together with the cousins for the holidays at Grandma and Grandpa's house. And your little cousin Julia was sad because she lost her toy. But you walked over to her and said, "Here, you can play with my toy until we find yours." Uncle Jay and I were sitting next to each other on the couch across the room, and we looked at each other with wonder, and he said, "Did anyone else just see what happened?" And this summer, when we were cooped up together in the new house, and you took up baking and cooking, and we all got fat, and one night we were all gorging on whatever delicious item you whipped up, and you weren't having any. And I asked why you weren't eating, and you said, "I don't really like it. I just like seeing everyone happy because of something I made." And there it is, your heart. Your greatest strength, your greatest asset, is your love for the world and your care for its people. There's a lot of grief and sadness in this world, especially in these last 6 months, and some concern for what kind of world awaits our young men and women. But I am not so concerned when I think that this world has you in its corner. Your love will spread out from you like ripples in a pond. It is already spreading. Look around you once more. We are all here and happy because of something you have made. In a few months, probably, you will be the tallest member of our family. It's a low bar, I know, but still. It's just one more way that you will be unique. With your ever-lengthening stride, let the words of Micah be your guide. Do justly, love mercy, walk humbly. I love you very much, Max, and I wish you many blessings on this most amazing of days.
It's a hard act to follow. Max, there is so much to say. My thoughts have not coalesced well. As Papa said, you have always done things your own way. Since before you were even born, you have taken your own time to figure things out, and then there's just no stopping you. One embarrassing story, it has to be done. Well, maybe more than one. When you were in preschool, I would arrive to pick you up, and you would be nowhere to be found. I would ask the teacher, and she would take me to your spot, which was in the corner, under a table, playing happily with some toys. Apparently, you did this every afternoon before pickup. I remember wondering if you were lonely, if you didn't have friends, should we be worried? But no, everyone knew you, everyone loved you. You just needed your alone time, and quietly and happily took it. This scenario has been repeated over and over through your life. Everyone who knows you loves you, and everyone seems to know you. When you started acting and performing, you learned your lines and your blocking quickly, and then you learned everyone else's so that you could help them too. I wonder if your true calling is to be a director. You have a kind and a loving heart. Just the other day, for some reason, we got into the topic of what you would do if you won $1 million. You said, first I would give some to the homeless. Then I would put some away for college. Then I would spend some. Maybe your calling is to work with those less fortunate for you, or work with and for those less fortunate than you. You have had your share of challenges and obstacles to overcome. Even through your struggles, you always see through to the silver lining. I know you don't think so, but you do see the world as glass half full. When we decided it would be better for you to change middle schools in the middle of 6th grade, your response was to take aerial acrobatics. Maybe you'll be a performer. There were others. When we moved in the middle of a pandemic, because life isn't crazy enough, and implemented a new rule to get you kids cooking 1 day a week, you decided to cook 2 days a week. And when that wasn't enough, you started like baking. Thanks for that. Maybe you'll be a chef. Whatever you end up being, I know you will be amazing. When COVID-19 made the traditional bar mitzvah process impossible, you decided to postpone with the hope that the pandemic would pass and things return to normal in a few months' time. Then you could have your bar mitzvah and party and everyone could come. When that didn't happen, we looked at alternatives, and look what you came up with. This day is a symbol. In Judaism, your bar mitzvah is the welcoming of you into the Jewish community. A culmination of months of hard work, soul searching, learning and growing. For our family, this day is a symbol of welcoming into your community. Since the beginning, our family has been enveloped in a community that is filled with both Jews and Jesuits. When Papa and I were married, we had a Jewish officiant and a Jesuit. When we had a naming ceremony for you and Maya, we had a rabbi and a Jesuit. Now, here for your bar mitzvah, we have a rabbi and a Jesuit. As my dad's arms are wrapped around you by way of his talit, so too are all of your ancestors' arms wrapped around you, and all of our friends and family, both here and far away. Our community is so much more rich and fulfilling than I could have imagined. Our favorite book, My Many Colored Days, represents just how colorful you are. You have had many amazing and wondrous experiences. You've had your share of challenges and obstacles to overcome. You have learned and grown with each one. From Roy G. Biv to your multicolored wig and Matilda, you have had days of all the colors, but you always go back to being you. You who are loving and kind and empathetic and strong. You who are smart and confident and giving. You who are open-minded and open-hearted. And I hope that never changes. I love you.
So now we're ready to begin our Torah service. You can find the prayers we sing on page 200. You guys, page 244 as we begin to get ready to take the scroll from here. Adonai Yevarech Standing in this line are those who are here physically in each generation, but also all those who are here virtually and in spirit, as we pass not just the scroll and the Jewish stories of Max's heritage, but all of his heritage and all its wisdom and all its love. The door of the door. Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. La 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 la
The Torah is the ancient scroll containing the 5 books of Moses. The first one, Genesis, talks about the creation of the world, Noah and his ark, and Abraham and Sarah, and their kids through Joseph. We read Genesis at the beginning of the Jewish year. Genesis is important to Jews because it talks about the world, and if the world wasn't created, we wouldn't be here. The second book, Exodus, talks about the Israelite slavery, walking through the Sea of Reeds, Mount Sinai, and their start through the desert to the new land. Exodus is important to Jews because it is how we got free and why we are not enslaved anymore. The third book, Leviticus, talks about the laws on priests, sacrifices, rituals, holidays, and behavior. Leviticus is read in the middle of the Jewish year. Leviticus is important because it says that we should have specific things such as holidays and behaviors. The fourth book, Numbers, talks about the 40 years in the desert. Numbers is read right after Leviticus. Numbers is important because it talks about the 40 years in the desert and what all the Israelites went through. I will be reading from the book of Numbers today. The last book, Deuteronomy, talks about the last days of Moses and his final words. It is a review, and at the very end, Moses dies. Deuteronomy is important to Jews because it is about the end of their long journey leading up to now. The portion I will be reading from Baha'alotecha is about a portion of the 40 years. I will be reading about the judgment of Miriam and Aaron. Miriam and Aaron thought that if God spoke to Moses, then he spoke to all of them. So why was Moses in charge? They were challenging him because he married a Cushite woman, which was against their beliefs. I chose this portion because it is important to let people live their lives the way they want to live it, not the way you want them to live it.
So as Max chants from the Torah this morning, there'll be a few of you with honors that surround the reading. And I'll invite you each up at that time if you're blessed in the Torah. you all know this, you're going to come stand to Max's right. If you have the honor of reading the English translation, and I'll invite you up at that time too, you're going to do that at this podium, socially distanced to my left and to your right. And also, one of the honors will be to be the Gabbai this morning, the person who presides over the reading and makes sure the person reading is supported and reads as comfortably and smoothly as possible. And our Gabbai this morning is Amy Cribble, and Amy's also been Max's tutor in preparation for today. So we'll put Amy kind of over there at that chair where I was at, nearby. And so we're ready to for the Torah reading. So Max, you can assume your position. And for the honor of first Torah translation, I'd like to invite Francis Bauer to join us at the podium. And for the first Aliyah, the first blessing, Judith Schwartz and Maya Bauer. Francis, you're over here. Du Yehudit Chana V'Chaya Leah Bat Devora V'Tim Harishonim. Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. V'daber Miriam v'Aharon v'Moshe al odot ha'isha ha'kushit asher lakach ki isha kushit lakach v'yomru harach v'Moshe Diber Adonai, Halo Gambanu Diber, Vayishma Adonai, V'ha'ish Moshe, Anav Me'av, Mikol Ha'adam, Asher Openei Ha'adam.
Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses regarding the Cushite woman he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman. They said, "Has the Lord spoken only to Moses? Hasn't he spoken to us too?" And the Lord heard. Now this man Moses was exceedingly humble, more so than any person on the face of the earth.
The honor of blessing our next reading belongs to Tim and Deb. And to read the English translation, Agatha Bauer. Ya'amdu Devorah Choshiva Tim HaHorim.
Hu et Adonai Hambara.
Baruch Adonai Labarak Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hambara Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai Pito El Moshe Ve'el Aharon Ve'el Miriam Su Shalosh Techem El Ohel Moed Vayitzu Shalosh Tam Vayered Adonai Ve'amu Anan Vayomeru Petah Ohel Vayikra Aharon Umiriam Vayitzu Shnehem Vayomer Shemuna Devarai Im Yeh Neviachem Adonai Ba'amar Ra'elav Et Vada Ba'halom Adam Berbo. Baruch Adonai Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emet. V'chayei olam nata b'tidachenu. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
The Lord suddenly said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, "Go out, all three of you, to the tent of meeting." And all three went out. The Lord descended in a pillar of cloud and stood at the entrance of the tent. He called to Aaron and Miriam as they both went out. He said, "Please listen to my words. If there be prophets among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known to him in a vision. I will speak to him in a dream."
The honor of blessing our final and last reading belongs to our bar mitzvah. The English translation, honor to Amy Shanahan. Ya'amod David ben Devorah v'tim ha-bar mitzvah.
Baruch et Adonai Hambara. Baruch Adonai Hambara Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hambara Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Elohein Avdi Moshe B'chol Beiti Ne'eman El Peh Adaber Bo Vayomru B'la V'tidot V'timat Adonai Yabit Umadua Lo Yoretem Ladabar Ba'avdi B'Moshe Yahar Adonai Ba'am Vayelom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu asher natan lanu Torah emet. Olam natan b'zochenu. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
We now take a moment to give everyone a look at the portion that Max chanted so beautifully from. Would you please rise as we raise the Torah scroll?
Because of a similar name, event, or place. Temple Micah is different because we asked the Bauer Mitzvah to choose a Haftorah selection from Ketuvim, the third section in Tanakh. The Haftorah is not an actual book. It is the name of the additional reading from the Tanakh. I chose from Proverbs, which is a whole lot of little sayings oftenly thought as written by King Solomon, because he was very wise. I believe that it was a group of wise men, including Solomon, who wrote the Proverbs. One of the Proverbs I chose was, "For with wise advice thou shalt make thy war, and the multitude of counselors there is safety." I chose this verse because it says that if you use wise advice, you control the way the tides go, and if you are surrounded by people you trust, you will be safe. Another one was, "He that saith unto the wicked, thou art righteous. People shall curse him, nations shall execrate him." I chose this verse because it says that if you think that being wicked is good, then you will be hated for the rest of your life. Asher Bahar Bimbi'im Tovim Baratzah with Abraham Hana Emarim Be'emet Baruch Atah Adonai Habocher B'Torah U'Moshe Avdo U'Yisrael Amo Uvin V'yeh Ha'emet B'Tzedek Ki B'tach Gulot Ta'aseh L'cha Milchama U'Tshua B'Rov Hatzel L'Kohen Gamavet Umatim Lahareg Im Tachzo Kain De'eh Hachma Lenav Shecha Im Matzata Vayesh Aharit V'tik Matacha Lo Tikaret Al Herov Rasha Linfe Sadiq Al Tishaded Ritza Baruch Atah Adonai Elohim melech haolam Zorko ha'olamin Sadiq b'chol hadorot Ha'el ha'ne'eman Ha'omer Torah, Vel Ha'avodah, Vel Ha'vi'im, Vel Yom HaShabbat Hazeh, Shenatarta Lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Likdusha V'Limincha, Lechavod U'Tifaret, Al Hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, Anachnu Modim Lach, U'Marhim Otach Yitbarach, Shemcha B'Vi, Kol Chai, Tami Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
The honor of sharing the English translation belongs to Maya. Then we need Max to this for the Bat Mitzvah. Maya, I'm pretty sure that you guys are in the same bubble, so you can probably come stand next to Max.
Okay.
We need to get the translation. We all like the image of you guys next to each other.
Proverbs 6. For with wise advice thou shalt make thy war, and in the multitude of counselors there is safety. 11. Deliver them that are drawn unto death, and those that are ready to be slain wilt thou forbear to rescue. 14. So know thou wisdom to be unto thy soul. If thou hast found it, then shall there be a future, and thy hope shall not be cut off. 15. Lie not in wait, O wicked man, against the dwelling of the righteous. Spoil not his resting place.
So now, before we return the scroll to the ark and end our Torah service, we have a custom in our community that whenever someone reads the Torah scroll, bar bat mitzvah, any ritual, they use an implement called a yad, which is a pointer basically that takes someone through the reading. For bar bat mitzvah services, there's a special yad that we use, and Max is going to hold that up and show that to you. There you go. And once the bar mitzvah is done using it, or the bar mitzvah, he or she takes that and they do two things. First, they choose a quote that represents them or their experience or their kind of something that means something to them, and that quote lives with the yad as part of its legacy. And they take that and the yad and they hand it down to the person who's next. So the person who goes about mitzvah next is Jordan Frank. She is here. Max will share with you his quote and then leave the yad for Jordan to receive, not literally pass as we do in this day and age. So share with us your quote, Max. It's right there on the bottom.
Real friends don't get offended when you insult them. They smile and call you something even more offensive.
So Jordan's going to grab the whole box, and we'll return the scroll. You're on page 256. Would you please rise?
Sally Ride was the first female astronaut in the 1980s. Even though she was married to a man, she still had a 27-year relationship with Tam O'Shaughnessy. She only came out as a lesbian to certain people, but that was because she was so private anyway. Her sister, Bear Ride, is also a lesbian, and shortly after Sally's death, said my sister was a very private person. Sally had a very fundamental sense of privacy. It was just her nature. If you think of yourself one way, then that should be the way others look at you. But if society doesn't accept you, then don't listen to them. If you let yourself be who you want to be, society will start to learn that they can't convince you to be someone else. Once they figure that out, they will start to think of you the way you want them to, and the world will be a better place. Right now, the world is beginning to accept LGBT plus people, and they are starting to change their views. This is an issue we need to address because kids who are living with homophobic parents are starting to run away and living alone or with others when they should be with their parents. I feel the need to address this issue because one of my friends has gone out in and out of their house more times than they should, just because their parents didn't like how they were living their life. When Moses married the Cushite woman, the other Israelites didn't like it. But when they saw that he wouldn't budge, so they started to accept his decision and went on with their lives. If the Israelites could do it, then why can't we? Let's look back on the Torah portion. Remember how even though Aaron went against God and still begged for forgiveness, and asked Moses to heal Miriam because he knew what he did was wrong in the eyes of the Israelites. This shows that when you realize your mistake, you can fix it. But also remember that you can always make it again and hurt the people you trust even more. We can all start accepting people for who they are by being kinder and not saying, you should be just like everyone else because that is normal. Instead, we should say, I accept you because you're different and you shouldn't be like everyone else because you're special. If we start accepting people, my adult life will be happier because I can teach my children to behave kindly and to accept everyone. Just remember to let someone live the life they want and don't tell them to do something you think is right. Make the world a better place where people can be who they want, not who society thinks they should be.
Max, we're so appreciative of you and the way you've led us and taught us. Your spirit, your perspective, your words of Torah are sweet to us. So we'd like to share some sweetness with you. I'm going to ask everyone who is here to gently as you can toss some of that sweetness Max's way as we express the first of all of our expressions of appreciation for him. And we say, Mazel Tov.
Go ahead, Mike. Do it. You gotta get up there.
Turn up, everyone. So as I said, those will be hopefully the first of many expressions of appreciation for you, Max. They all won't be thrown at you, although those cannons didn't really travel too far into space, so they were pretty tame.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, that next
do it
Regis
again.
Jesuit bar mitzvah will think differently about this. One of these gifts is a gift we'd like to share with you on behalf of your Temple Micah community and representing all of us. My honor to invite Yuri Ann Rovner to present these gifts to you.
Hi, Max. Yasher Koach on fine Torah reading today and leading our service. You studied well. I was fortunate to have you as a religious school Hebrew student for several years. Unfortunately, we didn't get to finish your 7th grade final year the way we'd like. However, you were always there every week, live or Zoomed, participating, always there. You're loyal, interested in Hebrew, or following strict orders from your parents. In any case, you got to work with Hebrew religious service liturgy, sing lots of folk songs in Hebrew. I think I know your favorite. Is it Ha'ota? It's in there. And in the last few classes, we're very polite to listen and apparently not enjoy a number of typical Jewish jokes. You have to grow into appreciating that type of humor, I guess, as an adult. And apparently that starts today. I always noticed a quiet resolve in you, the studious type. And this Tanakh here, which Micah gifts to you today, is full of stories that take a lifetime or longer to reckon. Being a good reader, you'll find yourself at times checking through one or another parsha for a quick answer to a single question, and then notice an hour later you've traveled through many stories in belief and disbelief. A game I like to play with Torah is picturing events as a movie. How does the set look? What do the characters look like? What's the soundtrack? As one who appreciates theater, give it a try upon your next Torah session of reading. It's kept me and millions over time glued to its scrolls. Oh, and here's a certificate in case you forget what you did today.
So Max, I am, so apparently there's some synergy, serendipity about the Jews and the Jesuits here, you and that weaving in and out of your lives. And, you know, I've always kind of had a affinity, even a fascination with Jesuits too. As far as who I find myself reading. One of my favorite books is actually a book about a group of Jesuits who take the first interstellar mission to a foreign planet. So I don't know, I feel kind of at home here with you, and you're at Regis Jesuit and doing this in this space with you. And even doing a little reading today to kind of think, well, what else is going on? Where else is the synchronicity or the serendipity, the alignment of all this? And as I read about St. Ignatius and kind of what he brought, the phrase that came up was what he was about, what he taught, what is embodies as contemplative action. And that spoke to me and speaks to me. When not just I appreciate what it means, but you and us and your Torah. Because in your Torah is, as you taught about, the story about Moses who marries this woman who is other, who is outside. And not just that he does that against the wishes of his family, but he stands up, and even Moses' response after that. Miriam's stricken with leprosy, and as you said, Moses decides, you know what? Man, he could be really mad at her. He's really angry with her, but instead he decides to maybe utter the first spontaneous prayer, one of the few in the whole Torah. El na rafana. Heal her, God. And I think about contemplative action, and I think what I understand to be is what Moses is doing there. Because often those things are put differently and separately. That to be contemplative, you think, oh, someone's off under a tree somewhere by themselves, or up in a mountain, and they're by themselves, and they're quiet, and there's no interaction. And they may see or know or feel deep, profound ideas or connections, but they're out there alone. When we think action, we think, oh, rolling up your sleeves and feeding the hungry and caring for the sick and doing those things that make people feel better, make the world better. And I think what is taught in both our Jesuit and Jewish tradition is the important relationship to the two. Is that to be a contemplative leads to action. And to act is rooted in contemplation. Now, what's contemplation? Contemplation is taking the time to know yourself, to know what you believe, and then to act on that. And to always do those in concert with one another. And I don't think Moses is someone, A, who could look at someone who's other and different and feel love and then act on that unless he does those things in concert. I don't think he is able to bless or seek healing for someone who hurt him unless he has that contemplative spirit and then able to act. I think for someone like you, well, like you specifically, who is Max, in your unique spirit and how you engage with others, but also you as bar mitzvah, there's no better reminder message to you to embody this, to live this, to use the skills and values and wisdom of your traditions that give you to, well, be a contemplative. And that may be occasionally being up on a mountaintop by yourself or under a tree, or maybe doing other things. Maybe engaging the intellect and learning and reading and studying. And maybe finding safety and security and refuge in community. But to always take the time to do those things. And from there, emerge with a vision of, well, how you want to be treated. How you expect others to be treated. To be kind, to be compassionate, to be just. And for those of us who know you, we see that you get this intuitively. But as an adult, the charge is to not just rest back on your laurels, but continue to learn how to do it more deeply and more richly. So as you stand here today and become bar mitzvah for all your communities, listen to the wisdom of all of them, from your Jesuit influence and heritage, from the wisdom and support from that part of your family tradition, to the Jewish wisdom and tradition, and how all of it uniquely comes together to make you. We'll take its wisdom, take its perspective, and its inspiration, and go and become the Max Bauer that you're supposed to be. In addition to sharing with you a bit what is in my mind and my heart, those words that come from me, I also get to say to you the ancient words of blessing that, well, we've been doing for thousands of years in moments like this one. So would you join me before the ark? And I ask everyone to please rise, as it's my honor and privilege to ask God's blessing on that. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God always bless you and keep you. Ye'er Adonai panav elecha v'kunecha. May the light of what God is shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May that light of God be so bright that it helps you find and create in your heart, in your family, and in our world, the most precious blessing of all: wholeness, integrity, peace. Pre-pandemic, I usually get a hug in that moment, so I can't do that now. Would you all please remain standing? as we begin our concluding prayers. I don't remember what I said we're doing here, Hal. Shabbat, yeah. Part of our Aleinu is our kind of wrap up. It sends us on our way out there, hopefully a little bit more grounded and comforted, maybe even a little inspired to do that work out there that the world demands. And so this Hebrew is a part of that prayer that does that. It's call and response. So just listen to Hal and follow along with me. Please remain standing. Turn to your prayer books to page 294. There you find the words, ancient words in Aramaic, actually, not Hebrew, of the mourner's Kaddish. These are words that we say as part of all of our communal gatherings, like this one, when we remember those who have died, and as important, we pay attention to those among us who are grieving and mourning, so that we can do that things that communities do and support one another as we are hurt and in pain. So before we do that, we take a moment and share with one another, anyone whom we may be remembering this Shabbat. First, we acknowledge those who Max and his family may be thinking about as you gather on this special day. Donald Schwartz, Max Schwartz, Sarah Schwartz, Emmanuel Weinstein, Hermine Weinstein, Rose Bonafide, Louis Bonafide, Elizabeth Bauer, Killian Bauer. We also remember those whose yahrzeits, whose anniversaries of their deaths fall in our Micah community. Eleanor Strassner, Helen Janet Bogan, Jack Kamen, Joseph Karger, Maynard Smith, Mildred Trzanski, Sarah Belzer Turkin, and Sophie Levy. And then if there's anyone else who you're thinking of, who comes to your mind or heart, and you'd like to add their names to these, please take this time either to yourself or out loud to share those names with us. We join together in these words of comfort. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah. V'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. V'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudasha b'richu. Li'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, imru amen. As we remember our loved ones, may their love still be part of our lives, in the way we live and the way we love. May we take the power of that to help support one another as we all grieve and miss our loved ones. And we all say, Amen. Please be seated, everyone, except for Max and Fam. Come on up so we can all see you in person and on stream. We wrap up with one more song and a few blessings. First song, Ojabo Shalom Aleinu. May peace be among us, around us, everywhere. Ojabo.
Ojabo Shalom Aleinu. Ojabo Shalom Aleinu. Ojabo Shalom Aleinu. Ve'akulam. Ojabo Shalom Aleinu. Ojabo Shalom Aleinu. Ojabo Shalom Aleinu. Ve'akulam. Salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam. Shalom. Salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam. Shalom. Ojabo shalom aleinu. Ojabo shalom aleinu. Ojabo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Ojabo shalom aleinu. Ojabo shalom aleinu. Ojabo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam. Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam. Shalom. Salam. Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam. Shalom. Ojabo shalom aleinu. Ojabo shalom aleinu. Ojabo shalom aleinu. Ve'al We have three blessings in which we end our time together. The first of these is over the wine, as we acknowledge the sanctity of the day and of our gathering. And Max, grab that beautiful Kiddush cup of the family. And we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen l'chaim.
Do it.
All right. Can we give us a good face? Hey, B'nai Mitzvah class 5780, why don't you make kind of a couple lines like post-soccer in the old days, and we'll have Max go when we're done over there. Don't worry, I'll tell you what that's all about. We have a blessing over the challah. So Max, you want to unveil that challah? And we're thankful for all our abundance, especially I know we have a little nosh to enjoy. I see it at the table over there. So when we're done, and when I say mazel tov, but grab a little nosh and enjoy, we'll say a blessing acknowledging our gratitude for that. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lachem min haaretz v'te'avon. And last, but maybe mostly, we say, blessed are you, the source of all life, who gives us life, sustains us, enables us to be present, to experience such precious moments like this. Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam, shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu. The rest of the words are all amen. Sing along with us, everybody. Amen. So as we say Mazel Tov Shabbat Shalom, we're going to ask Mac to walk out That's kind of some weird couple of lines, but that's our representatives of our 5780 B'nai Mitzvah class. Our new custom is post-service that they get a very special candy toss to and from one another. So give Max his distance. He goes out there, gets some more candy thrown at him. We say Mazel Tov and Shabbat Shalom.
Mazel tov.
Find some shade, grab some lunch, find some shade, and Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom.
This is my father.
I think in each box they're labeled. There's bagels and toppings, and then there's individual portions of chicken salad, tuna salad, egg salad, and some lox. Enjoy. And there's a lot.